have tripped themselves up big time, especially with what's been going on in the Middle East recently. But it's not just that, they seem to be having a woke meltdown when it comes to everything. A lot of people think there's a diversity hire behind every new appointment that there appears to be, completely castrating themselves with what they will say, a lack of a desire to get in amongst the real issues, putting a spin on everything. And for loads of people who maybe aren't as engaged with the news and current affairs as you and I and, people who are really active in it all, they just see this, and some people think that that's a kind of potential form of indoctrination. I'm just wondering if the BBC have gone the same way as Disney, with these kind of woke subliminal messages that are out there.
I think the BBC is far worse. I mean, Disney's a corporation, and look, they've done so much to go woke, and now they're reversing it. They just said the other day in a public filing, they understand that their push for diversity, equity, inclusion, and wokeness has hurt them financially, and they've got to redo that. The BBC is far different. The BBC, if you can track the BBC's decline to the kind of decline of England's influence, I think, throughout the world. This was, I would argue, in the 1920s and 30s was a incredibly important, and in World War II was an incredibly important voice for freedom and to support what the British people and the American people did. If you see it today, it's purely propaganda. And in fact, it's not just propaganda putting this poison into the minds of people, but if you stand up against it, it is the leader in cancel culture. And as bad as some of the British press is, The Guardian and the Times of London specifically, and of course, the uniparty globalist Financial Times of London, as bad as they are, BBC is by far the worst. I would actually argue that the BBC is worse than Canadian broadcasting and the major networks in the United States, including MSNBC, which are god-awful. BBC is probably the most woke and worst and most weaponized of all the propaganda channels in the world. And the reason is it still has, in the pantheon of quality, it's still looked at really as the railhead of quality broadcasting throughout the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the problem. You're absolutely right. That is a problem, because until there's a paradigm shift in that, then they can get away with things, or they'll be viewed like that, and therefore everything is taken with a strong degree of fact. I hope that's changing. I hope channels like GB News in America and GB News in the UK as well are trying to do a bit to change that.